I think it's wet dog. She's a cutie too, Anna. The flower girl.
She's cute. Her boots on.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, buddy. I don't know.
How's yours? Just
Great question.
Go to Mama. Mama's right there.
Cue the music.
Comes the bride.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Kescha and Matt, I want to thank everyone for being a part of this important occasion. Today is a day to celebrate. We are celebrating the lives, commitment, and friendship of two people who love each other and wish to spend the rest of their lives together. Matt and Kescha, your marriage today signifies a public affirmation of the bonding that you all have already begun. Marriage, if you think about it, is the only time in life when you actually get to pick your family. When you were born and as a child, you do not get to pick your parents, no matter who you are. You do not get to go to a vending machine and say, I want him or her for a brother and sister. They're given to you by God. And even as you have your own children, they are a gift from God, but you have no choice in who they are. Today is different. Today is about a choice. You, Kescha, have chosen Matt to be your husband, and you, Matt, have chosen Kescha to be your wife. What a joy today is, and I'm so glad it has come. When I first met Kescha, she was a young child. Her eyes were big and brown, Her face was small, but I could see, even as a young child, the strength that was in her soul and her spirit. She couldn't be broken. The kindness in her heart was demonstrated by the way she treated others. Throughout all the stages of her life, whenever I was around her, her kindness always shone. The keenness of her mind was always evident because she understood the actions and ways of the world and people around her. Kescha, you have always been a strong and smart and independent and kind woman, and you've become a very beautiful person. Matt, I've known for a little less time, but I've got to meet him over the last couple days, and I know a few things about him. First of all, I've met some of his family and friends, and he surrounds himself with good people. I learned that one of their first big matchups was through a trip through a U-Haul, so Matt knows how to drive a U-Haul if you ever need a mover. I know that he's willing to do anything to make his soon-to-be bride happy. He went out and bought a radio flyer wagon just for a photo op for their guinea pigs because he knew that Kescha loved animals and he wanted to show her love through that. Lastly, I had a conversation with Matt, and actually it was, I'm sure he probably realized it, but it was more of a test than a conversation. And during that conversation he said, "I will do anything to protect Kescha." And for that I'm grateful, and that's a sign of a good husband. So I'm very proud of you both. I asked Kescha to share a few words to me about her first thoughts as she met Matt. And Kescha told me, she said, "As a child, I never believed in love at first sight until I met Matt, and that went out the window." I'm assuming it was the window of the U-Haul. I asked Matt the same question, and he said his first impression of Kescha was what a strong woman she was. But he confessed to me, he said, after our first date, I dropped her off and I saw her in her yard and I was still in my truck. And as I drove away, he thought, she'll never go out on a second date with me. But he was wrong. That first date turned into love. In scripture we learn that love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. It is not irritable or resentful or arrogant or rude. Love does not seek self, nor does it rejoice in wrong, but it rejoices in right. Love bears all things, love hopes in all things, and endures all things. Kescha and Matt, my wish for you is that you all love one another in this way. I want your lives to be filled with happiness and joy. Are you two ready to make a vow to live your lives in this way? Good. Matt, will you hold Kescha's hand? Matt, do you take Kescha to be your lawfully wedded wife? Matt, would you repeat after me? I, Matt, take you, Kescha.
I, Matt, take you, Kescha,
To be my wedded wife.
to be my wedded wife,
To have and to hold from this day forward.
to have and hold from this day forward,
For better, for worse, for richer or poor.
for better or worse, richer or poorer,
In sickness and in health.
sickness and in health,
To love and cherish till death do us part.
love and cherish, till death do us part.
In accordance to God's will, I pledge my faith to you.
In accordance to God's will, I pledge my faith to you.
And you, Kescha, do you take Matt to be your lawfully wedded husband? Then repeat after me. I, Kescha, take you, Matt,
I, Kescha, take you, Matt,
to be my wedded husband.
my wedded husband,
To have and to hold from this day forward.
to have and to hold from this day forward,
For better, for worse,
for better, for worse,
for richer, for poor.
for richer, for poor,
In sickness and in health. To love and to cherish
to love and to cherish,
till death do us part.
till death do us part.
In accordance to God's will, I pledge my faith to you.
In accordance to God's will, I pledge my faith to you.
Now, would you bring the rings forward? Matt, will you take Kescha's ring and place it on her finger and repeat after me? With this ring, I thee wed.
With this ring, I thee wed,
I give you this ring as a sign of my eternal love. Kescha, will you take your ring, Matt's ring, and place it in his hand? Repeat after me. With this ring, I thee wed. I give you this ring as a sign of my eternal love. Matt and Kescha, I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss your bride. Often at this point, there's often some type of unity statement that people make. Sometimes they light a candle, sometimes they tie a ribbon in a knot to signify their tying of the knot. But with Kescha and Matt and their love for animals, we'd like to bring together their entire family, both two-legged and four-legged, as a sign of their unity. So Willoughby, Lupito, and Sally, if you will come forward. I present to you all Mr. and Mrs. Matthew Lally.
Yay!